Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today I want to talk about a really important topic. And anyone who is starting out in a new business or is looking to make a career change or just looking to do something magnificent in their life, they need to understand what it is they're trying to do. We always talk about ICP, or your ideal customer profile, but I want to talk about that more broadly, because I think when you look at the business or thing that you're trying to do, solve, whatever it is, you need to look at things very pragmatically. And people and businesses really operate around 4 core principles. And if someone is telling you that there's a 5th, I don't believe they're right. I think that every single person on this earth, every single business on this earth operates around 4 very basic principles. And if you can understand what principle or principles you are trying to solve with your product, solution, or service, you're going to be way ahead of the game. So what are these 4 things? What does everybody have in common? Well, everybody is trying to chase, achieve, and reach either money, wealth, success, whatever you want to call that. Let's just call it money. Health, they want to have better health. They want to be, more vibrant, live longer. They want their business to thrive longer. So money, health, religion. Religion can be interpreted as, religion, or it can be interpreted as passion, focus, goal-oriented, really that focus of religion. And then the last thing is family, right? Everybody at the core wants to take care of their family. Maybe their family is, they're a person, they're taking care of the actual family, or maybe it's a business and they want to take care of their team and their family. So really the 4 most important things to any single human being on this earth, frankly, probably even the animals that aren't humans, but I don't speak dog or cat or anything else, so I can't answer that. But the 4 most important things: money, health, family, religion. Now, the order of those 4 things varies wildly. And depending on who you talk to or what business you talk to, which of those 4 things are the most important, which of them are the least important. The point is if you can understand which of those 4 things you're trying to solve for somebody or for a business, you are going to be so far ahead of the game. Because everybody gets so fixated on this really, really specific niche that is almost so hard to pinpoint that they don't actually understand what they're trying to solve for that niche. They're just saying, this is our target market. Okay, great. I'm glad that that's your target market, but why is it your target market? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish by selling into that, right? So the ICP, or your ideal customer profile, is really important, but you still have to understand the why. You still have to understand what it is you're trying to solve for that ICP. And we get so, maniacal about our focus on this singular ICP that we don't think about more broadly why. Like, why is this my ICP? What is it that I can bring? What is it that I can solve? And it goes back to the 4 things that people care about: money, health, family, religion. Again, the order, wildly different, but that is what matters. And so if you can understand who you're selling to, and then you can understand what of those 4 things they are going to buy, that is going to help you out tremendously. And I talk about this a lot with my team at Six Pack, and I talk about, who are we trying to solve? And again, I believe I'm actually solving all 4. However, that's a little bit too broad. So you have to boil it down, and at the core, you're solving health, right? You're making the world healthier by starting with every individual and making each of them healthier. So again, I really think, if you just kind of zoom out, look at it, what you're trying to do. If you already have your ICP identified, it's great, congratulations. But if you don't, maybe this can be an exercise to help you not only understand your ICP, but understand the why behind your ICP. And the why is so important. I talked about this a few weeks ago in an episode where we were talking about understanding your why. And this, ties right into that, is understanding, why something is important, is understanding why people want to buy from you. And again, it comes back to the 4 things. Are you solving a money problem? Are you solving a health problem? Are you solving a family problem? Or are you solving a religion problem? And sometimes it can be a combination of those things. Sometimes it could be all of those things. again, find out, the why about who you're selling to and why you're selling to them, and you're going to find yourself far more successful. So, how do you go about understanding, those things? How do you go about, applying those 4 concepts to, whatever it is you're selling, whatever it is you're solving for somebody out there? And again, it goes back to, you have to understand why you started this business in the first place, or why you want to start this business. Like, is there a problem that you're trying to solve? I was in an interview with Glenn from Dual Bell a few weeks ago, and Glenn and I were talking about his product that converted dumbbells into Olympic weight plates. And in that conversation, I asked him, what are you solving? And he was solving a really specific problem. There was a money limitation for people who didn't have either the space, right? So didn't have money to have a bigger space, or didn't have the money to get a full set of Olympic plates and dumbbells, and he solved that problem. So he understood that he was selling to an audience that had money constraints, right? Money can be space, money can be equipment, and he came up with a solve for that. And so as you start to think about your business, apply that same logic. Like, what is it I'm trying to solve? Again, going back to my 6-pack example, I believe the world can be a better place if everyone is a little bit healthier. I genuinely believe that. I think if, every individual is a little bit healthier, whether that means they exercise, whether that means they eat right, that will ultimately make their family stronger. And if we have strong families, that will ultimately make communities stronger, which will ultimately make the world stronger. And so you can have big, grand, aspirational goals, but again, boiling it down to understanding which of those 4 principles you're trying to solve is going to put you way ahead of the game. So take a moment, reflect about what business you're trying to start, what business you already have, what you're trying to solve, and figure out which of those 4 things you're trying to resonate with your audience, and you will find far more success. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you found that helpful. 4 little tidbits of info there. Again, money, wealth, family, and religion. You pick your order, but you're solving one of those problems even if you don't know it. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.